This has been on my mind for a while. Hello everybody, I'm Matthew, and I'm going to be talking about something that's been on my mind for a couple of years now, and that is, well, Star Wars. Mainly basically how Disney's been handling it and the fans they produce from it. Star Wars has been part of my life since I was a child. I love the movies, I played the games, everything. It was such a magical world, fantasy, sci-fi, all in one. And then I grew up. I still really like the original trilogy for its innovative filmmaking and captivating storytelling. I go back to the old games of the 2000s and love the expansive story that fleshed out the world of Star Wars and even went beyond the Skywalker story. But after half a decade of Star Wars stuff, I'm just getting tired. To start off, I'm going to be talking about Star Wars and my feelings towards Disney and the fans and how they've handled it. Ever since Disney acquired Star Wars in 2012, they have been capitalizing it since the first movie in the new trilogy that came out in 2015. The first two movies I liked when it came out. I was still a little teen who loved entertainment, but after that I did something that no Disney fan does, and that's expand their mind to other films. I started learning about filmmaking techniques and filmmaking storytelling. I eventually went back to these movies and realized they weren't good. Like at all. There were some aspects that I liked, but overall it felt generic. And then Rise of Skywalker came out and, oh boy, that just ruined everything. It was overblown and dumb, and so much was thrown at it trying to correct what Last Jedi did. What Disney tried to do with these movies was very poor management. Force Awakens was fine. All it needed to be was fine. After the bad taste of the prequels, all it needed to be was fine so that it could reinvigorate the love of Star Wars. After that, it was clear that there was no plan or goal for the rest of the trilogy. They gave the reins to the next film to Rian Johnson, who at the time made 3 movies and did 2 episodes of Breaking Bad, was basically a nobody in the mainstream, and they gave everything to him. They gave him full creative control. Now, I am all for giving creators full control of their art. I champion this in the indie and art house scene. But when a company like this gives someone full control, I'm a bit skeptical. The end result was meh. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. I like some aspects of it, but it was executed so poorly. I feel like Ryan wanted to do the things he wanted to do, but Disney argued not to, so they came up with a compromise that didn't satisfy anyone. This ultimately came down to a mixed bag of ideas that divided the Star Wars fan base, at least from what I saw of the internet discourse.
The top 10 reasons why Star Wars The Last Jedi sucks.
While The Force Awakens is certainly to blame for basing the entire story of 3 films off Luke's disappearance, it's The Last Jedi that ruins the trilogy because of what it's forced to do with that setup.
Speaking of people being on drugs while making something, let's talk about Last Jedi.
I don't want to say it's a mess, but it's messy.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it.
After this, there was a shred of hope for what the final movie was gonna do. After all, the side movies were, in my opinion, fine to boring. Then in December, Rise of Skywalker released, and it sucked. There's no beating around the bush. It was the worst. It never slowed down. Nothing made sense. It was awful. I hated every second of it. But a month prior, Disney released probably the best thing Star Wars related since their acquisition of the property, The Mandalorian. This is what we needed. We needed something new, something away from the mainline story, the characters, the location, the story. Ugh. It was so refreshing. It felt like a transition into a new era of Star Wars that focuses on other people and their lives. And then they dropped the ball. Of course. Season 2 was probably a disappointment for me. What made it disappointing was how they had to tie it in with the Skywalker story, bringing Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Luke, and now didn't feel fresh anymore. Having it tied to the mainline story feels like they are afraid to take risk and do something that's completely out of the box from what they established. After the success of The Mandalorian, Disney had started to focus more on shows rather than movies. We're getting an Ahsoka show next year, the book of Boba Fett came out not too long ago, and a new Obi-Wan show just released. And I'm just tired of it. Maybe I'll check out Obi-Wan. When Star Wars started, each film took 3 years to make. Now, or at the time, the main series took 2 years to make, but including the side movies, it was 1 movie a year from 2015 to 2019. It was exhausting, trying to push out as much Star Wars as possible to gain more money and have people talking about it. And people talk about it. Most of the discourse is people praising it and saying how great the films and shows are. Well, except Rise of Skywalker. Everyone threw their hands up at that.
I fucking hate Star Wars!
But besides that, most of the people are just blind. Like, they just like it because it's Star Wars, and some just center their whole personality around it, which is kind of cringe. Like, do you guys have a life outside of Star Wars? Do you know how grass feels?
Seriously though, I can't believe they made them.
It's okay to like Star Wars. I still like Star Wars. But this is just getting obsessive. What I find weird while talking about these two is these Star Wars celebrations Disney has every year. It's a convention that centers itself around a certain niche, sort of like your Comic-Cons or adult expos. There's nothing wrong with this, but the way it's shown or presented is quite odd to me. The way they funnel everyone into this big auditorium, show them trailers, and invite people on stage, and how these people react are sometimes batshit. Screaming and crying. It's like they're all at Shea Stadium watching the Beatles. All this seems like a rally to gain support for their cause, like some sort of political rally, cheering and screaming whenever George Lucas or any cast member comes out. Like, what? Look, companies are out here to make money, and to please the audience. The audience support these companies to fulfill their wants. They don't care if it's the same thing as before. They're just like Marvel fans. They want to be entertained and see people they grew up watching to be back on screen and relive their former glory. All I want is some level of risk in trying to break the mold and create something that is fresh and start a new legacy that everyone could love. Okay, I've been talking about this for long enough. I'm tired, and I'm gonna go play Battlefront 2 for 4 hours.